Hey, Nora, welcome to Miracles Happen.
Hi there, how are you today?
I am fantastic. It's sunshiny finally. We're recording this in spring of 2021, and it's like, I'm done with winter.
Yes, me too. It has been freezing here. We were in the polar, did you have a polar vortex too? We were in like a crazy
No,
polar vortex for like 2 months, January, February. Oh,
holy cow. And you're in Canada. Are you on the east
yes.
side of Canada?
I'm on the East Coast, so I'm in Toronto, Ontario.
Got it.
Yeah,
Okay. And I'm on the west coast of the US. So it was just
yes.
rainy and cloudy and cold and all that here. But my goodness, I'm ready. I'm ready. Post
Me too.
2020, and we're moving into spring and summer. It'll be amazing. So,
New season, a new time, new everything.
yes, yes. And what a way, PS, to move into some fresh way of being with nutrition too. We can totally start there. So
Yes.
I was saying off recording here that I am really delighted to have you here because I don't know a lot about nutrition. I have no training. I have no knowledge base. And so it's really helpful for my listeners and viewers to hear what nutritionists or people who are trained or have a lot of knowledge say about nutrition around fertility specifically. So, super delighted to have you here. Welcome.
Thank
And
you.
I would just like to know if you can just tell us who you are, what you do, how you came to do what you do, mini bio of sorts.
All right. So I am Nora DeBora. Yes, my name does rhyme. It's easy to remember. It's coincidence. That wasn't intentional. My stepfather's last name is DeBora, so it just happened that way. But lo and behold, I am Nora DeBora, and I am a preconception health coach. So under the umbrella of a preconception health coach, I'm a holistic nutritionist. I am a yoga instructor and a personal trainer. All things health and wellness. I just love the woman's body. I love women's
Mm,
health and I help women prepare their body for pregnancy and have a healthy baby after 30. So as we know, so many women are waiting longer to have babies, the whether it's finding the right partner, waiting longer just to like advance in their career. Um, so I noticed there was this need out there. Now, in addition to that, there's a little bit of a personal story behind all of this, and
please. We
it's
love stories.
I find, when there's a personal side to why somebody does what they do professionally, I find, there's just so much passion there. So for me, I'm a 37-year-old woman myself, and I graduated from, so moving into the health and wellness industry is actually my second career. I started off in HR. I went to school for human resource management. I worked in the corporate world for 7 years. And I just knew that that wasn't my calling. And deep down, I was, looking for something different. I grew up competitive dancing, so always had a love
Ooh.
for movement.
Mm,
Yeah, and I grew up with four brothers, five kids in the house, and we were so blessed because my mom took such great care of us, and she literally cooked every meal from scratch for us. And
nice.
I see now how beneficial that is, right? So, anyways, long story short, moving towards the end of my corporate career, I knew that this just wasn't meant for me. So I ended up finding a yoga class. I took a yoga class and I fell in love. And from that point forward, 6 months later, I did my yoga teacher training. From there, I learned about Eastern philosophy of medicine called Ayurveda.
Oh, I love that.
And
Ayurveda. What? You didn't note that in your little email
oh,
to me.
sorry.
Oh my God. We have to talk about that.
Yes,
Yes.
I love Ayurveda too. At first, I was like, I didn't even know how to pronounce the word when I learned about it in the yoga teacher training. I was like, Ayo, what? and and then from the yoga teacher training, I ended up doing another 200-hour Ayurveda yoga practitioner course. And then from there, I learned about holistic nutrition. And by that point, I was in my late 20s, and I went back to school for holistic nutrition. And that was really the catalyst that kind of pushed me into the health and wellness world. And so, as I left my corporate career and started in the health and wellness world, I was in my early 30s at that point. And when I first started, I was obsessed with gut health. Like when I learned holistic
Mhm.
nutrition in school, everything was going back to gut health, gut health, gut health, gut health, right? You are not only what you eat, but you are what you absorb, what you assimilate, what you excrete. I can literally go down a whole rabbit hole with regards to gut health, but I'll leave it there. And so as I started as a practitioner, as a holistic nutritionist at the beginning of my health and wellness professional life, I really honed in on gut health. And then as I kind of did that for a few years, as a woman, my body started changing quite a bit as I moved through my early 30s. My hormones were changing, my PMS got worse. And so I really decided to take a deep dive into the hormone side of things. And then by the time I got to 35, I was like, okay, no partner in sight. I'm continuing to build and grow my business. I knew from a very, very early age that I always wanted to be a mom. But I was like, okay, what's going to happen for me? I'm 35. And then that was really the pivotal point of me deciding to then niche over into the preconception world.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. Because as I started doing my own research and knew that, fertility clinics were options, what is this going to look like for me? And as a health professional in this industry, while I was looking at all the information on how to optimize my own fertility and health, I was like, there is so much information out there. This is so overwhelming. I'm confused. What should I listen to? What do I do? And then that was just my light bulb moment to be like, if I'm confused as a practitioner looking into all of this, I can just imagine what everybody else is feeling. And that's when I was like, bing, okay, this is what I'm niching on. And then that's kind of, yeah, and that's the very Coles Notes version of how I came to kind of be doing what I'm doing today.
I love it. Oh, and
I was
working from we're working from home because it's COVID times. So I have a dog who is requiring some attention. Here's Dexter.
Oh, Dexter.
Just gonna put him on my lap. He's really quiet once he's cuddled up next to Mama.
Yes.
So yeah, I was curious about the fertility piece specifically, and I'm also curious about how, I'm sure we'll get into this, but how you were able to look at Western treatment around, fertility stuff, and then marry in some of this Ayurveda and yoga and nutrition stuff. But we'll try to keep focus on the nutrition. So we have a particular program, but I already warned you that I go a little tangential.
Yes.
So, so all right. You have a particular unique program that you like to call the 4 R's, right, to getting pregnant. And so I wanted to run right through those today. If you can start in the very beginning, and feel free to run away with it. You're the expert here, right? So I'd love to hear all about this program. What is
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I have a type A brain, and so I tend to be quite linear, right? So I'm going to try and stay on track as well, but sometimes I can go off on tangents. So I'll do my best to always bring both.
You're
of us
welcome
back.
Here.
I'll bring it back to center for the both of us.
Okay, great.
So yeah, so actually so my 4 R's to getting pregnant is kind of like is the strategy. And I'll dive into that shortly. But what I actually have is a 12-week holistic pregnancy prep program. And that holistic pregnancy prep program essentially takes into account nutrition, lifestyle, including mainly the exercise and environmental component, right? There's a lot of environmental toxins in our environment that can impact our hormones, and mindset, because as we know, everybody knows what they need to do, but to actually get it done, we have to, have a strong, organized mindset, accountability, someone to be accountable to, and all those amazing things. So that is the entirety of the program in and of itself. But the strategy that is woven through the whole program is this concept that you were mentioning, which is my 4 R's to getting pregnant. And I say 4 R's to getting pregnant because I try and keep it simple for the listener to remember, right? So
like Nora DeBora.
Yeah, exactly. It's like those quick things, think about like the Geico commercial. You always know all those little marketing tactics that they use, but it's not even just a marketing tactic. It's mainly also like just for quick reference, that's somebody to remember. So the 4 R's essentially to getting pregnant, I'll just go through the high level and then we'll dive into each one. So the first one is remove. So remove, we'll dive into that. Then we replace, then we repair, and then we rebalance. So what I found as a practitioner in this space is that fertility really does require like a complex interplay of nutrients and hormones to get pregnant.
Yeah.
It's not just, nothing really happens in silos. Everything is connected in the body. Everything works together.
Right.
This is why I like to take this holistic approach. So with that being said, the first R is remove. Now, a lot of us are walking around in this world with a lot of gunk. And you said that I can say bad words sometimes, but like shit and crap that is stored and built up in the body from, previous years of maybe even substance abuse or not eating well. Like we know how we are when we're in our teens and 20s and we're eating fast food, we're going out drinking with our friends, maybe we're smoking a little bit. Like, let's get real. Everybody's had some sort of past of that kind of stuff. So we have a buildup of crap in our body. And so in order to optimize and balance the hormones, because at the end of the day, in order to conceive, we need to have balanced hormones, we need to ovulate, and so we're able to conceive. So the first step is to remove all of the noxious substance, chemicals, and nutrients that are no longer serving our body. So when I say remove, I have kind of like 5 big groups of food that I like to remove. And now again, I'm going to be talking more high level here, depending on the individual, depending on their state of health, where they're coming from. This is always very personalized and catered to the individual when I start working with them. But generally speaking, for fertility, we know, and there's lots of research out there, that these 5 particular foods are nutrients, I would say, are inflammatory and can be toxic to the body. So the first one, and none of these are going to be like, oh my God, I never knew this. It's just more of a gentle reminder. The first one is sugar. We know that white sugar, refined and processed foods, when you eat sugar that is not from complex carbohydrates, your body actually has to leach minerals out of its bones to metabolize it. So we want to remove refined processed sugar from the body, first and foremost. Secondly, gluten. Gluten is a big one that everyone's like, it's fine, it's not, it's fine, it's not. You're going to hear very different opinions. But I say, depending on the individual, especially if you have a thyroid problem, gluten is a no-no for the thyroid. So what I like to say is remove gluten. And now I say if you're somewhat okay with gluten, it doesn't have to be fully 80-20 rule. A little bit of the time you find your threshold with gluten, but most of the time keep that gluten out and stick to complex carbs and gluten alternatives like quinoa, like rice, and those variations to still enjoy, like, gluten-free pasta and all those baked goods that we like to eat. The third one is alcohol. Alcohol is a big one that does a number on your gut and it does a number on your hormones. And a lot of people think, oh, I just have 1 glass of wine a night with my husband or my friends. Like, it's really not that big of a deal. But again, depending on where you are on the fertility journey, how old you are, and kind of how compromised maybe your liver and your gut already is, I would say we really need to either bring that to a minimum or cut it out completely, again, based on where you are on your fertility journey. Then we have soy. Now, soy, I want to clarify soy. So soy, the 3 most genetically modified crops in the world are corn, soy, and wheat. Again, this is why the gluten molecule is so sensitive to a lot of people's digestive system now, just because of the way it's been genetically modified over time. But the same thing is with soy. Soy is actually okay to the body as long as it's consumed in its fermented form. Unfermented soy is like toxic and not good for our hormones, especially, again, the thyroid. So I say remove soy unless you're having like tamari. So do you use soy sauce at all?
We use the aminos, liquid aminos.
Coconut, yes, liquid aminos. That's great. Yes.
Delicious.
Yes. Yeah, and that's gluten-free too. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. If you're getting the
yes,
Bragg's. Yeah,
yes,
Bragg's. Yes, that's a popular brand. So there's a liquid aminos, but either way, so there's soy sauce, but what I would recommend using is tamari instead of soy sauce, because tamari is the fermented version of the soy. Miso paste is great, but like soy milk, edamame, all of that stuff, which is the non-fermented soy, is just, again, like, we want to clean up the body as best as we can. So this is what I recommend to remove as we prepare the body for pregnancy. There was one more nutrient now. It's escaped my brain. I'm sure it will come back to me because dairy is one. Dairy is one, is just, again, dependent on the on how your body responds to dairy. But again, if you're going to get dairy, it must be sourced properly. Now, in Canada, there's different regulations in Canada and the United States, actually, depending on where you live in the whole world. There's always different regulations on how cattle are kind of bred and fed and how they're taken care of. I know in Canada, it's actually illegal to shoot them with growth hormones. But I know in the States you can. And in the States, there's more antibiotic use in cattle than there is in Canada. So you have to really be, again, when you're consuming all of this conventional meat and dairy, you're actually putting those hormones and antibiotics into your body because it's been consumed by the animal. It's the animal's byproduct. Now you're eating it, and that is going to wreak havoc on your hormones. So dairy was another one of them. So again, I could do a whole podcast on dairy, but we'll leave it at that. So just being sourced grass-fed, 100% has to be grass-fed for sure. Organic grass-fed if you can. And then if you're somewhat intolerant or allergic, then I would say like goat milk or like goat's cheese would be a good alternative to than cow. So that is the first R, is removing, these 5 particular foods. But then again, depending on the individual, there could be, somebody's food is medicine and somebody's food is poison. So it really takes quite a bit of.
I like what you're saying about that too, because avid listeners or people who have listened to me before have heard, and I want to ask you this question. They've heard me say, there are a myriad of research out there around all kinds of different ways to eat. Right now, it's like keto, and it's this and it's that. So I often talk to people. Now I'm, about emotional and mental health and all this, and spiritual stuff. And so I ask people to really tune into their own body and their own vibration and ask what is this okay right now? So I like how you mentioned like 80-20 rule or things like that. But sometimes somebody's needing to be 95-5 or 100% or 20-80, And so I like how you mentioned that. So that's what you mean when you say, oh, I work individually, we go through a specific plan.
Exactly. Okay. Totally. Because I don't believe that there's one diet or 5 diets or 8 diets in the world that is going to be great for everybody. There's 8 billion people in the world. There's 8 billion different diets in the world. Yeah. You have to figure out what's going to work best for you. And again, like you gotta, so when I work with my clients, I have this holistic pregnancy prep program where I have done a lot of research with regards to the preconception foundational principles with regards to nutrition, lifestyle, exercise, and all of that. But within the program, it's when I work one-on-one with clients, it's personalized to their needs. Okay. If somebody has been working with fertility clinics and they've been kind of deemed infertile for maybe like 3 or 4 years, they have a thyroid problem, they have this, that, and the other issue, then I'm like, okay, no alcohol for you entirely, no gluten for you entirely, right? But maybe somebody's coming in and they're like, I'm relatively healthy, I feel good. And maybe for them, it's the 80-20 rule. So, and I really like what you said about your suggestion on, again, asking, like, we have the answers all inside of us, right?
We do, and every single one.
We have every answer inside of us. And I totally, totally agree with that. But we also have to remember that the body is so brilliantly smart, and the body will speak to us in signs and symptoms. And so by understanding and becoming more aware of your body and how it speaks to you, whether maybe you get a headache, a chronic headache, 24 to 48 hours after you consume too much dairy or gluten, maybe you have indigestion, maybe you have a skin rash that flares up a little bit, maybe you have foggy brain, maybe you can't sleep well. Like, these are all different ways that our body's like, something is off balance, I'm not agreeing with something. Yeah. So I really help my clients understand how to learn to listen to their body and use that as a tool on what foods are going to agree and not agree with them.
That's beautiful. I just mentioned this on a podcast that's being released. Today is the 3rd of April. I think it's today. It's the 2nd.
Today's the 2nd. Tomorrow's the 3rd. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, right. Because my son did prank me yesterday for April Fool's Day. Anyway, I just mentioned this on a podcast that I recorded recently because I was not sure what to have for breakfast. And sometimes the body doesn't, or most of the time, the body starts communicating with you in a more subtle way, and then it gets louder and louder and louder as you don't pay attention, right? So yesterday it was just very subtle. I was like, should I have I'm feeling like either a smoothie or a scramble with like some veggies in it. And my body was right away scrambled with veggies. I'm like, okay. But it's very subtle. You learn to get quiet and still and pay attention to that. But then it gets louder and louder and louder if you're having, like for me, it's like cereal with milk, things like this that are, maybe even gluten-free cereal, but the dairy, like my body's like, nope, nope, nope. No, here's some inflammation, here's some,
Yes.
If it's too often, once in a while.
Yes.
Fine, but
threshold. I always say there's a threshold with everything. So yeah, it's like the fine art of like, it's like the art of learning how to listen to yourself and your body. Cause it's not easy when we're like so stimulated and distracted and bombarded with so much information all the time. And anyway, so yeah, I love talking about this stuff too. So
I know. Go on. There's a tangent for you.
Right?
What's your second R?
The second R is replace. So after we've removed the inflammatory toxic foods that are not serving your body, we need to replace it with nutrient dense fertility foods. And so again, I've got like maybe like a handful of nutrient dense fertility foods that I say, these specifically are very important for fertility and hormones and your reproductive health. And again, a lot of this is not necessarily going to be so new to you, but hopefully your listeners and you will be reminded or learn a little something new based on what I share. So the first one is dark leafy greens. I mean, it doesn't matter really where you are in life, everybody should be eating.
Mm-hmm. Yay!
Eat more greens!
And they're so delicious too.
Yes,
oh my God.
And you can make them delicious. So dark leafy greens are filled with fiber, folate, and chlorophyll. And we need fiber. We'll talk about that in the next R, repair. Well, actually, we're going to save that. So let's just talk about more folate. Folate and fiber. Folate, not folic acid. Folic acid is a man-made version, synthetic version of folate. So we need the absorbable form of folate that can be taken in a supplement form, but why not get it from your food as well? Mm-hmm. So dark leafy greens, always, every day, get in some greens, whether it's some raw in your smoothie or a handful or a cup or two cooked with your meals, breakfast, lunch, dinner, however you want to get it in, but always dark leafy greens, so important. They also help from the chlorophyll and all of the antioxidant chemicals, nutrients in there. It will help crowd out the toxins. So it'll help push the toxins out of the body. The next one is fat. Fats are the precursor to the hormones in the body. Okay, we need fat, especially as women, to support our hormones, to support us through our menstrual cycle. So I like to say every day, if you can get in, no matter what, at least 1 tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil drizzled on anything, whether it's a salad. I love drizzling extra virgin olive oil on like my eggs and avocado for breakfast in the morning, just as a garnish. It's so, so, so yummy. If you can get in a tablespoon of coconut oil cooked in your foods, it's antimicrobial, it's antibacterial. It helps kind of kill excess candida and like overgrowth of yeast in the body, in the gut. And it's a medium chain triglyceride, which means it goes straight to the mitochondria in our cells to help give us lots of energy for the day. And then obviously lots of healthy fats from nuts and seeds and avocado, and even fats from animal protein. So fat, like low fat, anything, throw out the window. No low fat. The low fat trend is gone. Bye-bye. So
it's replaced with sugar, right? Lots of sugar in those.
Right. Exactly. Unfortunately. And that's where all that's where all the obesity and the heart and the cardiovascular problems are coming in, is because of all that sugar that's been refined and processed. And now it's hacking our body to metabolize it because it doesn't have the nutrients in it. Anyways, we'll leave it at that. So yes, healthy, dark leafy greens, healthy fats. And we want to do pasture. So animal protein. Now, again, depending on the individual, if somebody is vegan or vegetarian, I do work with them to make sure that this, if they're like, I will not eat animal protein, nor that is just not in my life and I will not do it, that is fine. I will make sure that we're supplementing appropriately, because protein Yes, 100%. Because protein, the building blocks of protein are amino acids, and amino acids are essentially the building block of life. And protein is so important for preparing for pregnancy. So I like to get protein in the form of pasture raised eggs. Eggs are great. Go ahead and eat eggs every single day. 1 to 2 eggs are really good for preparing for pregnancy. Try duck eggs. They're really good. They're really
Oh,
big. They're
aren't they good?
Oh,
Oh,
I'm obsessed. I
they're
even make a
so
hair mask
delicious.
out of duck eggs.
Oh, do we need to have a beauty segment?
Right? Yes, duck eggs
Yum.
are so yummy. So yes, oscillate between chicken and duck eggs if you can find, but again, make sure that they're pasture raised, and grass fed animal protein, and like beef and poultry. So and collagen. Collagen is one of the best proteins for preparing the body for pregnancy. And two great ways that you can get collagen through this animal protein kind of segment or section would be through bone broth. Do you eat bone broth?
I don't. I've heard so much though. Yeah.
Yes. So chicken bone broth is the best,
Oh, chicken. Okay.
made from organic bones and chicken feet. I
Oh,
know it
interesting.
sounds
Okay.
kind of gooky and yucky because when I was like, ew, I'm not making chicken bone broth with chicken feet. And then I started looking into all the research, and that's actually where all the gelatin and collagen comes from,
That
in
makes
the bone
sense.
broth, which comes from the chicken feet. So if you make your bone broth with chicken feet, it will be super thick and gelatinous. Actually tastes amazing. And it's so great for helping balance your hormones, and then again preparing that body for a healthy baby. And even drinking bone broth while you're pregnant is amazing for the growing embryo
I'll
and the
check it
baby.
out.
Yeah. So if you're like, okay, and I don't mean bone broth that you're buying from like the Tetra Pak on the grocery store shelf, because that
Hmm.
is void of all of the really good nutrients that you need. I mean, making your own bone broth, or nowadays they have these like, they have so many different, they've got homemade bone broth at like little broth bars. Like I know in New York, they have tons of broth bars. You can
That is so cool.
Yeah, you can find bone broth outside of like the grocery store shelves. So you either make it or find a good source so you're getting good bone broth, or you can substitute with collagen powder. And so adding a scoop of collagen powder, whether it's to your smoothie, you can add it to tea, you can add it to you can add it to baked goods. But adding in collagen powder or bone broth, every single day is not only great for your hair, skin, and nails, talking about beauty, but
Hmm.
it's also good for
Hmm.
helping prepare that body for a healthy baby. And um, the the other one is thyroid boosting foods. So we need to make sure as part of balancing the hormones that the thyroid is working well. So many people have thyroid issues these days. They're
Yeah.
on tons of thyroid
Yeah.
medication. And as we know, thyroid is a big part of making sure that our metabolism is working well, and it speaks to all the other all the other reproductive hormones. Everything has to work together to balance itself out. So thyroid boosting foods come in the form of Jerusalem artichokes, onion, garlic, pineapple, and sea vegetables. Sea vegetables are incredible for boosting your thyroid because they are naturally loaded with tons of iodine.
Interesting. I think we all are learning some new stuff here. This is cool.
Yeah. So I'm going to give you a quick, cool tip with sea vegetables, because you might be like, okay, what the heck? What is she talking about? Sea
I
vegetable?
just
Like, am
think
I just going to,
seaweed.
well, seaweed, exactly. People think seaweed and like, okay, fine, I'm just going to go eat sushi. So, right?
Oh
But
yeah.
right? But what I would say, which is a great tip, at some point you're going to be boiling some rice or quinoa on your stovetop, or whether you're making soup or you're making chili or you're making bone broth. Everybody go and find what's called kombu, Kombu. Kombu is a seaweed vegetable that, like we all know nori. Nori is what actually the
Yes. The wrap.
sushi is made with. Exactly. So kombu is another seaweed vegetable that is actually like very hard on the outside. I wish I had it here, so I could show you. But it's like a hard piece of seaweed that you actually just I throw it into when I'm boiling rice, when I'm boiling quinoa, when I'm boiling anything. I literally just throw a piece of kombu in there and I let it boil with whatever is in there. And then whatever is in there is going to pull out all the amazing minerals and nutrients from that kombu. And then when the boil is done, the kombu will come out super slimy and slippery because it's been boiled. And then you just toss it in the garbage. Sure, there's other ways to use it. I mean, I'm sure there's tons of other ways to use it, but for me, I'm just like, okay, compost. That's what I meant, not garbage. Compost.
There you
yes.
go. There you go.
Throw it in the compost. But you've now infused your quinoa, your rice, your bone broth with more amazing minerals and nutrients. And specifically, this is good for supporting the thyroid. So
cool.
Yeah. So kombu, and it's got like this umami flavor. So it's like a little bit salty, obviously, because it's a sea vegetable. So it really kind of adds a nice flavor sometimes to your food as well.
Oh, I'm so doing that. I'm so doing that. My kids love, and my husband love the taste of the sea. They love sea stuff.
Oh, I'm excited. I'm excited for you to get on the kombu train.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm
Kombu
on.
is so good. So good for you. So we're replacing it. Fats, dark leafy greens, thyroid boosting foods, and pasture raised animal protein.
Okay.
So
and
those
for listeners I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Who can't see you, your t-shirt says eat more greens. Those who are listening, there's a t-shirt that says eat more greens. So
eat more greens.
And now I need one of those.
Yes. And then obviously as well, sticking to this goes without even needing to say it, but sticking to like a whole food, nutrient dense diet, like that is the foundation for everything. But if we're talking about key fertility nutrients, this is kind of where that 4 R's comes in.
Beautiful.
So let's move now to repair. So once we've removed all like the noxious substances and foods and chemicals from the body, we replace it with all these fertility boosting foods. And now we have to repair the gut. So in order to be able to absorb all of this new wonderful nutrients that we're putting into our system, as I mentioned at the beginning, it's not only about what you eat, but how you absorb it. Is your gut inflamed? Do you have leaky gut? Are you constipated? Are you going to the bathroom? Right? Because you could be eating the healthiest diet in the world, but if your body cannot absorb any of those nutrients and it's not excreting the toxic waste, then what's the point? Not what's the point, but like we could do better. So repair is all about focusing on, and this is where my obsession with gut health comes in, but it's all about repairing the gut to make sure that we can absorb all the nutrient dense foods. So for repairing the gut, that can come in a variety of ways. Obviously that's done through food, but it's also can be done through supplementation. And so I'll give you a few tips on repairing the gut and some really good kind of gut friendly microbiome rich foods. So are you familiar with what microbiome is? And if you're not, no stress, I'll explain it.
No.
Okay.
Yep.
So we actually have a colony of bacteria that lives in our gut. And this colony of bacteria is called the microbiome. And that microbiome now, research is looking that this microbiome is actually an organ in and of itself. So it's obviously not like the heart organ or like the liver organ, but the colony of all these good and bad bacteria, we need to have both. We need to have good and bad, but they need to be they need to be in symbiosis, not dysbiosis. So they need to be in harmony and balance. They cannot
be prebiotic probiotic thing.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So majority of us have what's called a dysbiosis, which is an imbalance of good to bad bacteria in the gut. Because eating like refined processed foods, lots of sugar, maybe lots of foods that you're sensitive to, or gluten, will actually imbalance that good to bad bacteria in the gut, because those bacteria actually feed off the food that we eat. So if we're feeding our body with lots of sugar, Candida is, have you heard of Candida, which is like what somebody has? Yes. So everybody has Candida in the gut and everybody needs it, but it's whether or not has it proliferated too much because you're feeding it all the sugar, or are you eating a healthy balanced diet so that Candida is where it needs to be in nice balance with the ratio of all the other bacteria. So yeah, 3.5 to 4.5 pounds. So if you think about a 4-pound weight, that amount of bacteria is sitting in our gut, and all these guys are talking to each other. And there's actually a lot of studies that show that there's a correlation to the gut bacteria and even mental health. And this is the gut-brain connection component, right?
Yep. That's why I know about it.
Yes, great.
Gut health,
great. Yes. So So it's so this is in part of the as part of my holistic pregnancy prep program. I have a whole week where we focus on gut health, and it's about making sure that we are repairing the gut and nourishing it so that it can be in its optimal state to absorb all these amazing nutrients. So let me give you a couple quick tips on great gut friendly foods. So if we want to support it, again, we can supplement with a probiotic. That is fine too. But if you want to get probiotics from food sources, sauerkraut and kimchi. Have you ever tried sauerkraut or kimchi?
Oh, heck yeah. Sauerkraut, I'm not a fan of, but kimchi all day long.
Kimchi?
It's
Okay.
always stocked. It's always stocked here. Yes.
Beautiful. Yeah. So those are filled. So sauerkraut and kimchi and pickles, they are naturally fermented. I started fermenting a whole bunch of foods a couple years ago, and then I was like, this is way too much work. So now I just buy it off the grocery store itself. But when the food is naturally fermented, it will naturally start to provide this good bacteria that the body needs. So that's why it's like sour, it's tart, because it's been fermented.
And a little fizzy.
And a little fizzy, exactly. And the taste will change over time depending on how long it's been in the fridge, because it will ferment long. It takes, if it's fermenting more. But 2 forkfuls of kimchi or sauerkraut a day is great to give you at, I'd say, a maintenance dose of your probiotics for the day. And
Nice.
so people are like, oh, Nora, I eat yogurt. I'm good for my probiotics. That is like minimal. And is it low fat yogurt? Is there sugar in the yogurt? I wouldn't stick to like, I'm having yogurt, I'm good for my probiotics. I would say sauerkraut, kimchi, even trying kombucha. Have you ever tried kombucha?
Oh, love kombucha. Yes, after nights of drinking. Sorry.
Yes. No, that's great strategy. I actually recommend that to my clients. Double up on your probiotic. Yeah, I say double up on your probiotic. Lots of ginger, lots of water and lemon. So instead of doubling up on the probiotic, you're just doubling up on your kombucha.
Perfect. Good.
Yes. So gut-friendly foods, getting in kombucha, sauerkraut, kimchi daily. And also collagen is really good for repairing the lining of the small intestines, which is where the body absorbs all the nutrients into the bloodstream. Along with, bone broth is amazing for healing the gut as well. So there's like bone broth, packs in all the punches. And collagen, I think I mentioned that collagen is also, and L-glutamine, which is another nutrient, which can be given in a supplemental form, is really good for healing the lining of the small intestines, again, which is where all the nutrients gets pulled into the bloodstream.
Oh, beautiful information.
I know there's lots. Let me say one more thing about the gut, and then we'll jump to the last R.
We know you're obsessed with the gut. It's good. I know. You're in love. It's all about love.
Well, and the last one is, and everybody can relate to this, is you got to make sure you're pooping every single day. So some people are like, oh no, I'm fine, or I go to the bathroom like once every 2 days. I'm like, no. You're constipated. Like so poop is essentially made of fiber, water, and bacteria. And sorry, I'm looking at my dog is distracting me. I think she needs to go out, but it's okay. She can wait.
She needs to poop.
She does, I think. Oh my God, this is too funny. So we need to be pooping at least 2 to 3 times a day. 1 meal in, 1 meal out. Transit time is 12 hours. If you want to know what your transit time is,
interesting, cool.
Do the beet test. Do you know what I'm talking about with the beet test?
No, what is the beet test?
The beet test is when you eat beets, you will see it in your poop the next time you poop. So eat a whole bunch cook the beets. It's better than eating raw beets. Cook the beets, maybe like 2 beets or something. Eat it with a meal, and then check the toilet bowl and see when you see it in the toilet bowl. And then you'll see how long it's taking your body it's the transit time. How long does it take from food to go in here to come out the other end?
Interesting. Oh, I'm so going to do that. Yes, that's happening.
Beet test. You got lots to do.
I'll be emailing you results.
Yes.
Thanks for that tip. That's cool.
Yes. And then last but not least, we have rebalance. So after we remove, we replace, and we repair the gut, now it's all about just maintaining by rebalancing those hormones and what I call eating for your menstrual cycle. So this is eating for your, I'm just going to use for purposes of just general stuff right now. Generally speaking, a woman's menstrual cycle, let's say, is a 28-day cycle.
Yep.
And as we move through the weeks of the cycle, our hormones are ebbing and flowing throughout that cycle. Now, we want to make sure that we're supporting the ebb and flow of mainly estrogen and progesterone and testosterone, which are the three key reproductive hormones, as we move through that cycle. So there are certain foods that will support the rise of estrogen, that will support the rise of progesterone, so on and so forth. So then what I do is I teach my clients in the whole second half of the whole second month of my program is how to eat and exercise for their menstrual cycle.
Nice.
So in the first week of the cycle, we're bleeding. What happens when we bleed? We lose iron, we lose B vitamins. And so it's important to replenish those with the foods that we're eating: red meat, lots of kale, lots of pasture raised eggs. So, it's about eating, healthy and clean the whole way through. But every week there are specific nutrients that we can hone in and focus more on to support the female body as it moves through each week of the cycle.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah. And I love that you guide people through that, especially particularly around their specific body and their specific menstrual cycle, and potentially like PCOS, where we don't know where. Yeah. So that's really wonderful. I love that. Do you need to pause, because we can edit this out, to let your dog out?
I'm just going to put her on the balcony. So can we,
Okay,
can we
cool.
pause this first 2 seconds?
Totally.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. You're still recording, but okay.
Yes, we will edit it out. No problem.
Okay. Yeah. I'm just going to let her on the balcony, and that way she doesn't she'll just do her thing, and I'll leave the door open. She can come in when she wants. Okay. Sweet. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
This is why we have editing. Yay, we're not live right now.
Yes. Okay.
Although it's fun for live too.
Yeah. No, I don't care. You can make that live.
Okay, so once you run folks through the 4 hours, now you said it's a 12-week program. It's so interesting. I find that there's that 90-day thing. It's just like 90 days creates such vast change. So this isn't like linear, right? First step, 1, step 2, or is it? Is this all happening at the same time?
It's kind of all happening at the same time, which is why I say it's like the 4 R's is kind of like the strategy that runs through the program, right?
Okay.
Because the first week of the program is all about mindset. While I do the intake with the client and gather all the information, and I need to spend an hour. They do fill out a food diary, an intake form. And then, while I'm doing all the work for that part, they go through the mindset part of the program and start to set up their morning and evening routine. What are their core health beliefs on their body? There's a mindset component that I have at that
Oh my
first
God,
week.
yes. I love that. Yes.
Yeah, just to set the stage, really just to set the stage and say, listen, if you're making this commitment to yourself and your body and your future baby, let's set the foundation with your mind first. And then through week two, we go all deep into nutrition. Week 3, we focus on gut health. And then week 4, we focus on environmental toxins. So as I kind of move them through the first 4 weeks, we're removing and replacing and repairing. Okay. It's kind of like all done together. And then as we move into month 2 of the program, which is I call it harness the power of your cycle. And that's where I take them week by week. So cycle week 1, cycle week 2, each week has a week. So you understand, where are your hormones at this week? What is happening to your body this week? Why are you crying like crazy? And why are you just wanting to be in your room, huddled under your covers, and not wanting to be social and go out? Well, because your hormones are making you that way. And so that's when I teach them the whole second month of the program, how to eat and exercise for their cycle. And that's where the whole rebalance piece comes in.
Okay.
Yeah.
You just like alluded to my next question, was around the exercise piece. And I know we're just focusing on nutrition today, but I assumed also that you talk about exercise and movement for the body as well. I'm wondering if that has stuff around toxins and releasing toxins and building muscle and all that good stuff to help support the process.
Yeah. So again, I always like to try and keep it simple where it's like let's harness the power of the cycle of our body, because that menstrual cycle is king, or queen, should I say, is
Mhm.
queen when getting pregnant, because we need to find that window of ovulation, make sure that we're eating right and exercising right to support our cervical mucus. I know that might even sound crazy and weird to think about, but if you're really in tune with your body and you're not on birth control, and you have a natural cycle, you can actually observe your cervical mucus, and cervical
Yes.
mucus is what keeps sperm alive. So
Yes.
like we need cervical mucus, and so we can support the body's rhythm of the hormones, which are going to promote which is going to like promote cervical mucus. So that being said, the question with regards to exercise is, um, what I like to do is, depending on the type of exercise you're doing, a lot of people are like, I need to do HIIT, I need to lose weight, I need to run a marathon, I need to
Mhm.
spin on Peloton until I'm like dead on the floor, like that type of thing.
If I haven't vomited, I haven't worked hard
And then
enough.
exactly. So, but honestly, different workouts are going to impact the body in a different way. Um, Working out is an inflammatory process to the body, just lo and behold. If you're doing high intensity interval training, how often are you doing it? How hard are you pushing yourself? Are you pushing yourself over the edge? So, right, maybe more restorative yin or like a gentle vinyasa yoga flow can be very calming to the nervous system and
Mhm.
stimulate more of the parasympathetic nervous system as opposed to the sympathetic nervous system. So based on where we are in the cycle, like week 1, when we have our period, menses and actually having the period is a very inflammatory process. So, like, we're not going to go run and do a crazy HIIT workout while we're on like day 2 of our heavy period. No, you need to
Mhm.
like do
Mhm.
gentle stretches, relax, rest. That is your body's time to rest. And then
Mhm.
as we move into week 2 of the cycle and our estrogen's starting to rise and we're feeling good and creative and social and lots of energy, that's when I'm like, all right, let's get going. Let's go do that like fun dance class. Let's go for that run outside, or let's do a HIIT workout, until your body gets to that point of peak ovulation. The body, your ovaries have just run a marathon. Now you're going to ovulate. And after that ovulation, now progesterone starts to rise. And as progesterone starts to rise, that is going to retain water in the body. So maybe we do a couple more exercise that will help you sweat a little bit more to release excess water. And it's also going to really make you very sensitive to blood sugar fluctuations. So making sure that you're exercising, but then eating properly so that your blood sugar doesn't drop too low. And eating the right foods in that week 3. So this is just little examples of how I'm
Sure.
showing you, like,
Yeah.
you can really optimize your hormones by eating and exercising for your cycle. But yes, like exercising, obviously, toxins are expelled from the body through pee, poo, breath, and sweat. And
Yeah.
so, we're peeing and pooing all day. Most of us are. Like, if you're not, you can't really survive. But how much of us actually sweat a lot? Sweat is a great way to detoxify.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
being mindfully and strategic on how you're doing so based on where you are in the cycle. It's
Mhm. You go
learning
deep.
the learning. I do. I'm obsessed. I can't help it.
That's the best job for you then, isn't it? Love
Yes.
it.
Yeah, it's I'll tell you, it's quite empowering when you learn all of this for yourself, because so many women have, anxiety, depression,
Yes.
their mood is all over the place. I remember my girlfriends in their 20s and even early 30s, and they would be like, Nora, I'm feeling this way, I'm feeling that way. I always look at them. Where are you in your cycle? They'd be like,
Yeah.
stop asking me that. And I'm like, no, that is going to be the answer as to why you're feeling this way right now. It's not going to be the
Yes. Yes.
answer, but it's going to help you understand, like, what do we need
Right.
to do? So it's like,
Right.
always, where are you in your cycle? Where are you in your cycle? And when you know, and then you know how to optimize it, or nourish your body with where you are in your cycle, it just makes life
Mhm.
so much easier.
Yeah, there's something about the awareness that gives permission. It's like, "Oh, it's okay that I feel this way. Okay. And
Yes.
what can I do to um, comfort myself, or what can I do to take care of my body in this time, in this week?"
Hmm.
I love
And
it.
we live in such a world where it's go, 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 do, do, do. Everybody expects everything from
Right.
everyone all the time. Everything needs to
Yep.
be done yesterday. But as a female, our bodies operate on a cyclical nature every month. It's cyclical.
Yes.
And we need to move with that cycle. don't push or force yourself against it or try and plow through it, because you're going to burn yourself out. And so like that, just understanding that in and of itself is like, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah. Do you find, you mentioned that you consider yourself like type A, put everything in a box and label it and all that. Do you find that your clients are also similar? Like they like to have, right.
Yes.
Yeah, I find that a lot of fertility folks are. And I also find that folks that are that way are the hardest on themselves, and they are constantly trying to push that square peg in a round hole. I'm going to do this. I'm going forward. I'm going to die doing it, but that's okay.
Exactly. Well, I 100%, majority of the women I attract are type A. Like I've really learned how, like, it still work for me all the time, but I meditate daily. You know, I've really done a lot of work on myself with therapists, with coach, like, you know, invest in yourself, and it's great. But to really help me know how to manage that, because it's a blessing, but it's a curse at the same time. And so my program, which is great for type A's, is because it is laid out like a type A program should look. You see what you're doing every week. You're going to learn and understand and all of that. But so it's great because you're given all this amazing information and knowledge. But then when working with me, that's where we personalize. I coach, I hold them accountable, and I say, you know, like, it's not like I have to meet my client where they're at, but I have to help them sometimes. Like, no, you're chilling this week. Like you can't go that hard. You know, you have to, as a coach, you have to.
That's right. That's right. Well, where can people find you and look up more of your information and connect with you?
Yes. So actually, I have I'll actually show you here. It doesn't look exactly like this, but it's kind of similar for those who are watching. I have what's called Eat to Get Pregnant. So I was talking at the end about the 4 weeks and what to eat to rebalance the hormones. I've got a 1-pager. It's for free. You can print it off. I have so many of my friends and clients stick it on their fridge, and you can see what to eat every week. And that can be found at www.naturallynora.ca/eat. EAT.
Great. And of course, that'll be linked on the show notes here for people to just quickly click on that.
And download. And you'll get recipes too. You'll get recipes over the few days of getting some emails about learning all about your cycle.
Nice. Well, I know where I'm going after we hang up.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Nora, is there anything else that you feel like you can cover, or words of wisdom, or any words of encouragement that you can offer folks before we end today?
I would love to say one more thing. For those of you who are looking to prepare your body for pregnancy, please don't underestimate the power of taking the time beforehand before you want to conceive. And 90 days is a key. Great number, because it takes 90 days for sperm and egg to develop from its primordial state. So anything and everything you do within that 90 days is going to affect the health of that egg and that sperm. And so for women, I have to say this, mainly for the women who are watching, is when you do get pregnant in that first trimester, all my clients tell me this, I'm so glad I took the time up front to ramp up my nutrient stores and get healthy, because in the first trimester, here we go again with the language, but they all felt like shit. Not all. Okay, not all. A lot of them felt like shit. Many can't, they're nauseous, they're throwing up, and it's very hard to stick to a clean eating regimen when you're having morning sickness for the first trimester. So, you know, they're like, I'm so happy I did all of this beforehand, because baby takes all the nutrient from mom. And so, you want to prepare yourself as much as you can up front. So don't underestimate, like, plan, ladies, plan. Even if you're not type A, plan a little bit.
So you will help type B folks move a little bit into the type A column, and type A folks move a little bit into the type B column. Great. I love it. This is great. Great. So we will link all up to you so folks can find you and get your information and get that free little gift, guys. This is really cool. If you're listening, you didn't get to see it, but it is a great 1-pager that lists all the foods out for you for your menstrual cycle. It's really fantastic. Nora, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you so much for having me. It was great to meet you.
Likewise. And I need to have you back so we can talk other stuff like Ayurveda and other things that we
absolutely. I would love that.
Great. Thanks so much.